Hey everyone. Now, before this video begins, it's also, yeah, for everyone that hasn't seen it, I have a new software for tracking and everything, and it's still better. My model is still a bit basic for the software's advanced tracking, but yeah, I kind of haven't made much on YouTube since then, but over on VStream with my daily streams. Of course, link in the description. Um, okay, but I guess it's a bit different. I will be giving my opinion on Outlast Trials because last weekend I played it a lot and I just wanted to give everyone my view on the game after hosting a poll on Twitter and Discord, and there seems to be some interest. I've actually made a script for this one, so I'll be reading most of that. I will include some gameplay in the background just to show a bit of the gameplay, that it's not too boring and that you all can see somehow how the game looks and how the gameplay looks like. I will probably not cut it very much or edit it in crazy ways. This is really just for me to give my opinion about the game. And you know what I also want to give my opinion on? Today's sponsor, NordVPN. Yes, actually. um, this isn't a full joke. It's very important to remember privacy. And especially privacy online can be a hard task to deal with. That's where NordVPN comes in, because NordVPN protects your privacy while also kind of allowing you to watch content, for example, on Netflix, that's not available in your country, but only in another. Which probably most of my friends use NordVPN for. But of course, there is also threat protection, completely protecting or mostly protecting you from malicious websites and other threats. This, of course, doesn't work if you're in just downloading random shit everywhere. But if you were to get on a website by accident that's not secure, threat protection got your back so you don't get a virus from one simple mistake. And they actually have a Black Friday sale right now where you can get 69% off and you even get 3 extra months for free. So essentially, you get 4 months of NordVPN, you support me, and you only pay 69, or like you only pay for 1 month with even 69% off. That's how it's worded. Damn, I'm not good at doing sponsors because I don't prepare well for them. But make sure to check out NordVPN with the link in the description. Even if you do change your mind later, it still is definitely worth having a look at it. And now to the actual video. So, what is the game? Outlast Trials is a co-op horror game in, of course, the Outlast series that you can even play with up to 3 friends or random players. You can basically complete trials that have different objectives while you are hunted down while avoiding the traps during the trials. And if you do that, you unlock more trials that you can go through and also character upgrades. One of the main areas of the game is the hub area. It's basically just a social hub. You spend your time in between the trials. You have a little sleeping room that's customizable. You can customize your character's appearance there and unlock the upgrades and start the actual trials. It is actually a public area, so it always has other players in it that aren't in your group. You even have the option to do arm wrestling and chess against those players because funny. As for the gameplay in the trials. When you start a trial, you first get a small introduction to it, which means you get the screen and there's a small message for the overall goal of the trial. And with a bit of NAV4 gas, you start to hallucinate some of the enemies and important scenes and things that you will encounter inside of that specific trial. Overall, yeah, I think it's a nice way to set the mood for the trial you enter and also kind of tell you what it is about. After that, the shuttle arrives. Basically, you and your team enter the entrance area. Basically every trial has this kind of entrance area where there is no enemy yet, and it's just a small part that leads you to the main area of the trial where you actually have to survive. And there in the trial, you all get a series of objectives you have to complete in order. And completing all of those objectives basically unlocks the exit where you can head back to the starting area and go to the shuttle. With a button, you can call the shuttle, and when it arrives, you can leave. However, now that you have completed all those objectives, there is actually an enemy in the main area, sometimes even two, but quite often it's just one enemy. The trials aren't a fucking piece of cake. You know, you got a lot of threats. Quite a fucking lot. Like, everything tries to stop you from reaching that escape shuttle after completing all the objectives, which for one is the main enemy. Every program, which is basically just trials themselves and the challenges set in the same scenery of those trials, have their own main enemy. For example, for the first program you have, that's this perverted police officer that kind of likes teasing his own balls. Or, for example, in the next two, it's the mama. They will basically just patrol areas and will hunt you down when you get too close. There are psychos too, to not make it just the main enemy, and also adds a bit of variety. You have a lot of different psychos. You have ones that actually patrol and are basically similar to the main threat, just that they occur more often. You have the ones that hide in hiding spots, and as soon as you pass that hiding spot, they will jump out and pin you down, doing a bit of damage, but honestly, they're not gonna kill you unless you're on low health. And you kind of also have some that just stand everywhere, and they basically don't do anything except say dumb shit and be crazy unless you get too close, and they will hit you in the face and tell you to piss off. The next one is what I call the gas dudes. You have those elevators on the map, and occasionally there will be an alert sound, and the warning light on one of those elevators is going to light up. Shortly after that, a gas dude, I mean, yes, that's not their name. I just call them gas dudes because that's what they are. They come out of that elevator and they will stop patrolling for a little bit, trying to find players. If they don't, they will just leave. Also, if they do find you, they will chase you, and if they catch you, they will spray you with even more FNAF4 gas, completely draining your sanity in one go, and then leave. Because that's all they do. They are not what kills you. Your lack of sanity will kill you, because of the next threat, which is the Skinner Man. Basically, as soon as your sanity, or like while your sanity is depleted, the Skinner Man will hunt you down. He will just completely chase you. You really have no way of hiding, and you just have to get that sanity back up to make him disappear. He also disappears after some time because your sanity, if it's completely depleted, will recover fully after a set amount of time. But he will basically just follow you around and deal constant damage while your sanity is at 0. There are also a lot of traps, and I mean a lot of them. You have like a billion sound traps on the map. You have I don't know how many gas mines blocking off specific paths. You have electrocuted fences that turn on and off, and if you walk over them while they're on, you will take damage on some maps. You have door traps that if you enter the door fast, you will get hit by, and a lot of more, and they are basically there to make sure you stay careful while walking through the grounds of the trials and not just mindlessly run through. However, you do get a little bit of help, which comes in the form of the items, which are health potions, antidotes, bottles, and bricks, etc., that just all give a different little effect or help you distract or even stun enemies. You have your rigs. Basically, every player can have one rig in their loadout. Those are some of the things you unlock with the tickets you get from completing trials. And they just offer utility like X-ray healing, stunning, or also a smoke cloud for some reason. I don't know how much it helps, I haven't tried it out yet. And they are basically just an ability you have that goes on cooldown as soon as you use it. There's not much to it. I mean, they are friggin' useful, and as soon as you play in a team, you can also combine them and actually say, yes, you just take the heal, you take the X-ray, etc. Which adds a nice little team play to it. You have medication, which is basically just the name for character upgrades, which just offer permanent improvements, like being able to use items without picking them up, being able to like directly burst through a door while running instead of doing this slow ass kick animation. Uh, yeah, basically all of that stuff, more stamina, etc., etc. Just the basic character upgrades. And amps are special perks that you unlock later in the game, and they range from reduced movement noise to more stamina, while you can equip 4 amps in your loadouts. Uh, does the game have story? Yeah. Well, there isn't much to the story, but there are documents you can find in the trials. They aren't really worth it, in my opinion, though. And essentially, the story is just very simple. It basically all boils down to your character is, I think, homeless and living a bad life, and finding a flyer where they tell him, hey, we can change your life. And as soon as he goes there, he gets kidnapped, gets his night vision goggles drilled onto his head and put into the facility to do those Saw-like death games as part of the therapy process. Yeah, it's not much of a story, but honestly, they don't need a big story. They were more focusing on the gameplay. And it's a multiplayer game about playing Saw-like death games or trials. Like, what kind of story do we expect behind it? Um, yeah, I just wanted this to do like a small overview over the game itself for everyone that doesn't know about the game. Just to wrap it up again, there's surely gonna be a better explanation of everything out there. I just want to go over it real quick. Um, but to the actual review part, I want to go over some things that I like, which is, for example, that the trial environments and the places you visit during those trials are designed very well, and they offer a lot of decoration that makes them kind of interesting and also fit the theme it tries to set. I mean, overall, the graphics and effects are, in my opinion, pretty nice to look at and to play with. Also, the that you can play those, I'm gonna say Saw-like death games because it pretty much fits. But yeah, I think really it's a nice concept, and playing with friends, I'm pretty sure that's fun. I mean, I couldn't play with friends yet because no one of my friends has the game, but I'm sure it's fun. Even if you don't have any friends, but you don't want to play this game alone, there is a group finder in the trials section where you can select the trials and then you can set that you want to find a group, which is nice. Just normally I like to play those games with friends or alone and not with randoms. Also because you never know what they're about to do. As far as I've seen, it's like the game doesn't have many bugs that hinder your casual experience. I mean, I've had enemies, especially those, like mainly just those ones that hide in hiding spots, jump out at me while being invisible for some reason. But that only affected the animation of them pinning me down, making it pretty funny. But yeah, it didn't hinder my experience and was actually kind of funny, while also not happening too often. The game also offers those MK challenges for the trials. Like in the programs with the trials, they have those MK challenges, which basically just switch up the gameplay and also offer harder versions for the trials. And those also have modifiers like more enemies or more traps or not being able to see player names. Pretty interesting. Also to the characters, I think they have nice designs and also to some degree nice personalities. And I mean, they kind of are very recognizable because it's not the most generic design. So yeah, I think the design is very nice. Um, is the game perfect? Of course not. It has some problems, and it's an early access game, so it has multiple rough edges. But I'm gonna stick to two bad things, which is the AI can be pretty fucking weird. Yeah, it can camp you spot, etc. Or just be generally jank sometimes. And what confused me the most was the grading system. It's basically when you exit the trial, you get a little overview over how well you did, and you also get a grade. You know, this DCAS tier thing. And I don't know how it is in a group, but I played alone, and for me, it kind of felt unfair. I mean, it might be intentional, or maybe it's just because they just value the triggering of sound traps way too high. Also, like, not triggering sound traps is pretty much impossible, or you would just have to go at a snail speed. And also due to the previously mentioned shank of the AI, sometimes taking damage is like inevitable, which just makes it feel a bit unfair. So let's do a quick summary. It's a roller coaster of emotions with this game, or at least when I played it on stream. The game is still in early access, so rough edges and issues are to be expected, and hopefully everything gets slowly patched out. But yeah, I mean, the main issue really is with the AI being weird and sometimes annoying. They just sometimes this game really turns into Hiding Simulator 2023. It's also not a traditional horror game. It's their main way of creating moments of fear and tension is just with the risk of losing your trial while you already spend a good amount of time in that trial, and also by including a big load of violence and gore. Uh, I mean, it seems to be the theme the game is going for, and I think that's completely valid. They, if they want the game to be in that type of theme, it's their decision. I'm just gonna say it's not the typical horror game. What do I mean with typical or traditional horror? I mean, for me, the traditional horror term of horror doesn't fit here, because when I imagine it, it's about playing with the person's mind and being scary, while this game is more of like calling a slash movie horror. It's that type of horror. So yeah, I'm not saying that it isn't scary or stressful, fearful to some degree. It's just that the main focus isn't lying on making the game scary and more on making the trials bloody and crazy and all that kind of stuff. It can feel like a lot sometimes, like they're actively trying to just be as gory as possible, which I completely understand. That's what they want to do. But anyways, I still had a lot of fun with the game. Uh, Also, the game isn't for a few quick rounds after your work day or something. Just remember that for me, in my experience, trials took 40 minutes to even above an hour to complete sometimes, which might be due to me being bad at the game, or it might just be because trials are set out to be this long, especially when you have to constantly hide and only have the chance to make slow progress each time before hiding again. Which, to be fair, yeah, it's fine. I still had a lot of fun, also probably because of chat. So yeah. But most important question, would I recommend Outlast Trials? Yes and no. I mean, like always, it really depends on what game you are looking for. If if everything I just said sounds like a fun experience and you're looking for a new game to play with your friends or alone, you can excuse the few rough edges of the early access game. Give it a shot. Really, there's not too much to lose there. Uh, just give it a shot. However, if you're really looking for a story-driven traditional horror game that just makes you fear with those psychological methods, playing with your mind, etc. Or you just don't like or can't handle gore. Or maybe you just don't like it in your horror games or the excessive use for it. You will find a better fit elsewhere. This game will not be for you if you don't like gore and if you search for story or horror in the traditional sense. However, if you're unsure, you can of course watch more gameplay. You can maybe even check my VODs over on VStream. Or just wait for the game to be generally improved and have more content added to it. It might improve it, it might not. We will see how this goes. But yeah, as for the current state, I can recommend it if you're just looking for a fun game to play with friends or alone. And can excuse everything I mentioned that isn't that good.